Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Oh, you're a lively bunch. Thank you. It's been over about a year since I was here last. It's always nice to see all of you here. Of course, new faces. Welcome to your Sangha home. And I wanted to share some of my thoughts, of course, and experiences that help me to appreciate what is known as Buddha Dharma. Helps you to appreciate what is non-violent. And today we did a chant called Ju Seike. English, it means reaffirming the vows. Reaffirming what vows? And there's a story behind this particular Buddha we refer to as Amida Buddha. And the Ju Seike actually comes from a passage. A gatha is like a song, a hymn of praise, where the subject of this particular chapter talks about a bodhisattva whose name was Bodhisattva Dhammakara, who, according to the story, was a king at one time. But then he happened to see people gathered around someone who looked like a bum. And he was the Buddha at this time. And he decided to see why people were paying attention to him. And he was a king. Why weren't they paying attention to me? But to make a long story short, I guess it must have been very impressive because he sat down there and stayed there for eons of time to hear Buddha speak and to learn something about what life is about and the importance of understanding the Buddha Dharma. And the story also continues by one day, and we do basically a lot of chants within our services. One of them is this is Ju Seike, the other one is Sambutsige. Sambutsige means praises of the Buddha, where he begins a poem of praise to his teacher with Ko Gen Gi Gi. Ko Gen Gi Gi means how awesome you look. How awesome you look, okay? Which is a very unusual way to begin a chant, but it's how the story began. But each story has its so-called highlights, its points. And for me, although Ju Seike is very short, it's one of my favorite gathas and chants. And I wanted to refer to, if you have the book, page 96. And in there, on the passage, if you look at the bottom, I think it was on the bottom one, it says, of course, in Japanese or the Chinese reading, it says, Ishu kai bozo, kose kudoku, jo o daishu chu, seppo shi ku. And most of us cannot read Chinese characters, but Ishu kai bozo, the word I in there, in Japanese, is called tame, for the sake of. In other words, I put a lot of thought into the 48 vows that I've now presented to all the Buddhas as witnesses and my teacher as well. And for the sake of Ishu Kai Bozo, for the sake of sharing the virtues or the essence of Buddha Dharma, I will open up the storehouse of the treasures, that which we have not even begun to understand. Because quite often in Shinran say that understanding the Buddha Dharma is like understanding the ocean. It's too deep. It's too wide for us to truly understand. But there's a vastness out there which embraces me unconditionally. So for the sake of all of us, understanding something about the Buddha's compassionate love for each and every one of us, and what it means to embrace by the Buddha Dharma, by the Buddha, I will always be there to be always among you. Not separated from you, but in so many mysterious ways that we cannot even begin to fathom. To be able to help you understand your purpose in life, Buddha Dharma, with the strength and gusto. In this case, it was written over 2,000 years ago, about 2,000 years ago, with the gusto of a lion. So that was very poetic in those days, because a lion represented something that was very dynamic, very forceful. And so it represented how the intent of Hozo Bosatsu, or Bodhisattva Dhammakara, to be able to reach out, to fulfill all 48 vows, for the purpose of embracing each and every one of us unconditionally. So this is the gist. And if you read the rest of the poem, or the story, it tells how the Buddha reaches out to each and every one of us in so many different ways. Okay, so take it on your own and ask the sensei if you can take home to study and read and ask him the questions. Okay, you can it's a very important chant, and it's my favorite anyway. But I wanted to share different ways, and quite often people would say, how do we begin to understand the Buddha Dharma? And quite often we use the phrase 84,000 paths lead to pure life. In other words, there isn't just one way. But quite often we say the Buddha or the Buddha Dharma, the essence of, comes to us in so many mysterious ways. And in today's world, sometimes we use the word to awaken, to become aware. And in other words, it's my connection with the reality of life. It's my connection with everything that makes life possible, the dynamics of life, I guess. And through understanding these different things, hopefully we reach what is known as the quality of life. The quality of life. And I often refer to people as the basics of general Buddhism, which Shakyamuni said is true of all beings. They will all go through different phases in life. Anybody knows what they are? 3 basic phases. Anyone? That we all cannot escape from. Okay. This is not a test. Okay, you're not even, if you do, maybe get candy or something. The reality of all human beings is that we'll all go through various stages. Old age, sickness, and eventually, because we all have form, we'll have to face what is known as death. But to put it into a nutshell, I'd like to explain something about that and how we can learn to live. I believe that each and every one of us was given the gift of life, and it didn't just come by chance. And if you speak to other schools of Buddhism, the Tibetans especially, who are scholars in all these different areas, they'll say that to countless numbers of merits, and this is where the word merits or virtues comes about, causes and conditions, we're able to accumulate enough merits to receive one of the highest forms of life, the human form. Human form. See, in other words, it's another way of saying, don't take this life that you have for granted. You have to work very hard for it. It took a long time maybe to reach here. So this is a gift. The gift of what? When I go through life, all I have is sufferings. What's so good about life? Well, in the Buddhist tradition, there's a word called ki. This is in Japanese Buddhism. I don't know what the Sanskrit would be. It's called ki. And of all the various forms throughout this universe, only one form is the human form. So what's different from receiving human form and the other forms? And according to my teacher, he said, the human form, the ki, has the ability to make changes. Has the ability to make changes. And in the human, I'm sure even a cockroach can make a change. But even for us in the human world, and we call it history, all that happened throughout what is known as history was made by whom? Human beings. Yeah. So maybe that's our way of understanding that the importance of who and what we are. And if it's true that everything is based upon causes and conditions, who and what we are at this very moment was based upon causes and conditions from the past up until now. And in this lifetime, if you understand this concept of the Jews say again, we're able to encounter many, many different things in our lives. And this isn't just people, but encountering the Buddha Dharma. And why do you think you're here? I often, whenever at the end of our services in New York City, we always introduce new people, guests, and my comment has always been, thank you for coming. You were meant to be here. It is not by chance. You were meant to be here. And the causes and conditions have led you home. Thank you for coming. So these are different things that happen in our lives, and quite often the impact you as a human being has an impact on others. And we hear it all the time in general Buddhism, or for that matter in Buddhism, that there is nothing that exists on its own. If anything can say, I can live on my own, poof, you'll be gone, because all the things that are necessary to sustain life, even the basics of air, water, sunlight, will be gone, poof, you wouldn't be here. But because of the mystery, because of this thing that we cannot truly understand, which sustains me unconditionally, I'm able to exist. And it is creating that awareness that so many causes and conditions, so many things are helping me out to exist. It comes down to, do I have a purpose? And the answer is yes. And this is the stories of all the bodhisattvas who become Buddhas. At one point in their existence, and this is why Sambutsige begins with Kogen Gigi. How awesome you look. The student was looking at the teacher, and although the student was saying to the teacher, excuse me, how awesome you look. It was actually a statement of, I've come to a point in my life that, can you clarify for me? Is this what you're trying to say? As a student, I've been sitting here for eons of time listening to your messages. How inspiring, how inspiring. But is this what you're trying to say? I need clarity. So Buddhism brings you to the point where each and every one of us needs some kind of clarity in our life. Am I going in the right direction? Am I doing things that would help me to become a better person, etc., etc.? But these are things that you will have to encounter on your own, okay? It's not something you read in books and whack in the head or something, but these are things that one day you just wake up to and you ask for clarity in life. And in the story of Bodhisattva Dhammakara, he came to that point. And the Buddha of his time said, yes, yes. And for us in today's world, it doesn't seem like much. But you have to understand that this is Asian culture. In the Asian culture, one never questions a teacher. One always accepts whatever the teacher has said to be the ultimate truth. So sometimes to ask the teacher a question is like you may sound like you're against it, or you're revolting against your teacher. But no, in this case, this particular student said, I need clarity to move on. It's just what you're trying to say. How do we wake up to these different things? And I'd like to relay something that happened to me about two Fridays and 2 Saturdays ago. One of our temple members, his name is August, and every Sunday he comes to the temple, he shares us during a meditation, he plays the shakuhachi. So when we're sitting down, so we have Asian band and flute. And he makes up his melodies as he's doing that, just for us to sit and enjoy. Well, anyway, he's a school teacher, and he's an art teacher, and he's a potter. And so, we didn't know his background because he just joined our temple recently. But he's coming like every Sunday to hear something. But he started passing out these cards. He's having a one-man show on his pottery. So all the members in support went to see him. But when I looked at that picture, as if this pottery of this photo, his pottery was jumping out at me. I said, August, this is awesome. Even to the point where it's scary, it's trying to talk to me, say something to me. And when I went to see the show, it's more so when you see the actual piece in front of you, whack! It's coming that way. And I didn't know how to say it. I said, August, when I see your piece, as if there's something that is searching, desiring to have form. Can you bring me into this world? That's the feeling I get, is yelling out, give me life, give me a form. And for what, I said, what do you do when you do your pottery? He said, I don't know. I said, what do you mean? My hands just move. And it seems as if I'm in my own world, everything I don't hear anymore. And I just go, wow, awesome. Oh, wow. So we left it at that. Then the following day, it just so happened that within the complex of the building of New York Buddhist Church, there's American Buddhist Study Center. And the coordinator of this particular section of our temple had invited an artist to display their artwork. And they had set it up a couple of days early, Thursday, and this was Saturday, everybody was invited to see. And when I went into the room on Thursday, because I was invited by virtue of being the minister, coming to look, it was like, whoa! I mean, about 15 pieces. And the whole room felt as if it was filled with some kind of mysterious energy. And so the artist was there, and I went in there, and the first question I asked the artist was, you don't have any labels or names to your art pieces. And his reply to me was, when I asked, well, what is the name of this or that? He asked me, well, what do you want to call it? I said, wow, that's very deep. Very deep. And because he had studied some kind of Buddhism, and I asked him the same question as I asked August. When you're painting, because it's abstract, what comes across your mind? I don't know. And it comes out. And I said, I think you and I are on the same page. He said, why? And when I asked you the question, why, what is the name of this piece? You reply, whatever you want to call it. It's because, can you imagine, anybody imagine why? Why he didn't name the pieces? Anyone? No, this is not a test, okay? Anybody? Just one guess? Okay. And here both he and I agree. Once you put a name on it, what happens? It's confined. It's limited to whatever name you give it. We're putting things into boxes. Okay? But by putting no name on, what do you want to call it? It's still free. It's able to go through various transitions. So the people viewing it, can pick up these vibrations. And I've begun to realize that being an artist, is any artist here? You're special, okay? Because to become an artist, I guess in Japanese we have used the terminology narikire, to become one with. You have to be one with the element, one with the paint, one with the clay, one with the environment, one in that moment, and just wow! And I'm assuming you go into your own world too, yes? Yes. And I think artists have this quality of bringing certain things out. What are you bringing out? Not only who you are and the quality of what you are, but you're expressing something that is very deep and profound that maybe some of us don't even begin to understand. This is part of the 84,000 paths that help us understand the depth, the meaning of our own existence and the existence of all things in life. Again, because there is nothing in this world that can exist on its own. We need things to help us create the awareness that all these various things are embracing us unconditionally. And sometimes as a minister, because I tend to be somewhat way out there, sometimes I think that even the name Buddha does not do justice as to why we put our hands together. However, as human beings, we need something to give us some kind of rooting, some kind of understanding. So we tend to put names on everything. Okay? And even, how many of you, I think sometimes we do what Acharya or Shojin Nyamutsuge. And the first two lines, if you were to read the English translation, I take refuge in the Buddha of immeasurable life. Second one says, I take refuge in the Buddha of inconceivable light. Inconceivable light. And even Shinran himself was not able to say, this is what Amida Buddha is. Because he didn't want us to contain it. And if you read the descriptions of the Buddha as Shinran wrote it, and Shinran said, I never came up with any genius idea. I took it from a chance, and this is what the Buddha represents. In the case of Shoshin Rinpoche, as expressed by Shinran Shonin, expressed the 12 different qualities of Amida Buddha. And he said, it all comes down to Namo Amida Butsu. But Namo Amida Butsu means, from the Buddha side, please call my name. It isn't me desperately trying to call the Buddha's name. It is the Buddha requesting each and every one of us, please call my name. Because I've begun to understand the meaning of what it means to be alive, the meaning ups and downs of suffering, that I want you to understand that you're not alone. So if you read the first verses of Jusei, the first one says, I would not become a Buddha unless all beings, everything can come to the highest level of existence. There is no greater freedom, there is no greater gift or state than to be in enlightenment. And I will not become a Buddha unless I can assure all beings that you can reach this level. The second one recognizes suffering. I know that there is suffering. But then this is very complicated because you need to know where suffering has come from. But because I will find the source of what suffering is, I'll be able to free and negate any form of suffering. So that you not feel alone. You not feel abandoned or forgotten. I will not become a Buddha unless I can fulfill this. And the third is the universal vow of unconditional, being unconditional. When I become a Buddha, all the other Buddhas will reflect upon who and what I mean. And by attaining Buddhahood, I will receive a name. Should this name not be heard even one place throughout the entire universe, I will not become a Buddha. The essence of the name is that this is not only what I represent, but it is the voice that reaches out to you to say, here I am. And you're not alone. So this is the uniqueness of trying to understand Amida Buddha through the eyes, perhaps, although I'm not showing my interpretation, of realizing that there's something out there that unconditionally accepts and loves each and every one of us for who and what we are. Never questioning our strengths, our weaknesses, because there is no one who's perfect. Okay? But because the Buddha represents boundless, unconditional wisdom and compassion, the ability to negate all forms of negativity, I'll be there to embrace you unconditionally. Please remember that you're never, ever alone. And what do you need to do? Hopefully think about me. Hopefully call my name. And that name can be whatever you want it to be, as long as you can connect it to something that is unconditional. And this is where it's important, as I mentioned earlier, that we not label things and put into boxes, because the Buddha comes in so many different ways. Yeah, so many different ways. So let's not limit. And again, although maybe my examples were not the best today, just experiencing these two artists. Oh, one more story. That same Saturday night, a friend of mine was inviting me to go eat sushi. And he was a personal friend of the sushi chef. So we sat down and I was watching the sushi chef. Wow. And he was expressing his art through what he was making. The way he prepared, the sushi, his presentation, everything. So it comes in so many different forms, so many different ways. As long as you train your eyes and hopefully your ears and your heart to open up, to not label or judge, but simply say, wow, wasn't that awesome? You can feel the essence of the Buddha in every aspect of your life. So today I just wanted to share these simple things with you, and hopefully it will help you to understand your role in life as being the one that's like the Buddha, who creates some kind of awesome something for somebody else. Okay? And then I'm sure all of you are here unconditioned to help each other out. But we just need a little help to help us along the path. And our help that we do get is understanding what Namo Amida Butsu and why we say Namo Amida Butsu. How truly grateful we should be. But before I sit down, anybody have a question? This is a test. No? If not, then thank you for allowing me to be here. It's always a privilege and a pleasure. So let's put our hands together in gratitude, in reverence, in humbleness, in appreciation for that which I made a vow to embrace me unconditionally. And this simple mind that I have, which cannot expand anymore, I'd like to rely upon calling the Buddha's name with deep gratitude. And so, humbly call the name of the Buddha, Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you very much, and thank you for allowing me to be here. For all of your Thank you for supporting me, Coach. It's a wonderful place, and as I mentioned earlier, you're meant to be here. So never